right, we're live, okay. Well, hey folks, welcome back to Rugby Ascendant and Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris in Bloemfontein with Springbok and Blue Bull legend Naas Botha. Naas, hoe gaan het?
Dankie, Chris.
Well, it's a pleasure to finally get a chance to link up with you. And here in Bloemfontein, I think a lot of people were surprised when I said I was meeting in Bloemfontein. They assumed I'd meet you somewhere in Pretoria.
Yeah. No, I've been there for over 60 years, but I started getting a little bit busy in India. My wife lived in Pretoria. I spent quite a bit of time in India. The middle girl studied here in Bloemfontein at University of Free State. And I'm not really, going overboard regarding family life and things like that. But I said, life is too short. Let's just get under one roof. And we moved. Of course, it was easier to move the little one from one school to the next, from Menlo Park to University down in Bloemfontein. And we've been here now for 4 years already. So
you're settled in pretty good then.
Yeah, but we're not going to be permanently based in Bloemfontein. We're in between at the moment, if I can put it that way. We're close to moving, but we're also not that close to moving. So I'm not going to leave here today and move tomorrow. But it's a lovely place to actually have a family, to be honest. But unfortunately, it's just too cold for me.
In fact, last night was 0 degrees here, I think. It hit 0 last night.
Yeah, and this morning it's just, but it's fine. You're getting used to it. If I look at some of the Free Staters in their shorts in the middle of winter,
They're like,
then I gather, you're getting used to it. But I think I'm at the age at the moment now. I'm not going to get used to it.
Yeah, that's probably fair. No, it's funny because I was walking around this morning and my host over at Grey College for the tour has a park on and I'm walking with short sleeves.
You can see how I'm dressed.
Exactly. No, it's but I've got Viking blood, so I'm accustomed to the cold. It's my kind of environment. So Bloemfontein. Well, you mentioned India. I guess we should start with that. I don't think a lot of people outside South Africa, or probably outside India, are aware that I believe you're the coach for the national side for the men and the women in India. Is that correct?
Yeah, but the thing is, to be honest, we had quite a couple of discussions in the last number of weeks. The unfortunate thing is Asia Rugby needs to really get their house in order. And I'm not talking India. I must be honest, the president and the board actually really tries to get something going seriously in India. See, sevens, and you love sevens. You're going to the World Cup now, but I'm not major into sevens. I'm a little bit more the old school, the traditional 15-a-side, proper international rugby. So because it's an Olympic sport, all that. People and governments bought into sevens quite a bit. In America, they did. So in India, it's a little bit of a struggle to get a 15-a-side going. And I'm going to give you, a summary, and then you'll understand the frustration that we're going through. We played 2 games, okay, COVID now included, because that disrupted quite a bit of the structures and schedules. But we played 2 internationals now in 4 years. Now you can't accept that. That is not good enough. You look at your 4 nations in South Africa, Rugby Championship, New Zealand, Australia, Argentina. You look at 6 nations. You're looking at Europe that's got so many competitions going. Asia is such a big area that, the other day I heard there are 32 countries actually playing rugby. And, I just can't believe that up till now they couldn't figure out, 4 groups of 8, home and away at 16 internationals per annum. If money is a major problem, then it is a problem. But then if you create things, as you know, because you go around the world You experience many different things that normal people normally don't. But I believe if you do something, something can happen out of nothing.
Sure.
But if you don't do anything, then it's quite a bit.
And nothing is going to happen. Yeah.
And then nothing is going to happen. So it's a little bit of a disappointment at the moment, but I gather somewhere along the line,
It'll come right.
it will come right.
Well, let's hope so. Naas, for years, one of my complaints about rugby union, of course, and I prefer 15s too. I do like 7s, but I prefer 15s. One of my complaints for years is that the countries that were non-traditional, and some people don't like the term minnow. I still like the term minnows, but non-traditional rugby nations like the United States didn't get an opportunity to play test matches against the top teams. And how can you ever improve if the only time you see the Springboks is in the World Cup, for instance, the Velvetius, and you lose 89-0? I mean, that's pretty sad. And part of it, of course, is money. It's also scheduling with all the professional games out there now. But one of the complaints I had was that we just didn't see it. But the Eagles have had some good fortune playing some international tests the past few years, and with Gary Gold there, they've improved. They had a bit of a setback this past year. Disappointing one. Yeah. I know.
Lose to Chile.
Yeah, I know.
I think that was a little bit unexpected. But you see, the thing is, you're absolutely correct. That's why the World League that they wanted to introduce. I thought that was one of the better rugby ideas for a long time. Okay, but then they should have taken the whole world.
Yes,
and put them in groups of, let's say, 12.
I agree.
Tier 1, top 12. Then the second, then the third. So I'm talking a little bit here with an Indian hat on.
Sure.
Let's say we in group 7. And if you do well in group 7, you can move to group 6, and then you can move to group 5. That, when they voted against that, I thought that actually was one of the worst rugby decisions that I've seen in a very long time, because that would have made rugby not a global game. We're not soccer. Let's be fair now. We're not soccer. Okay, soccer is a global game. Rugby is not a global game. I believe rugby has the potential to be a global game.
I agree.
But then we need to manage it differently.
Yes.
And as soon as you start talking about, I'm looking at American sport, and unfortunately, I'm not saying there is, but I get a feel sometimes people don't want to learn from the Americans, and I believe there's a lot to learn from American sport. If you look at American football, you look at ice hockey, you look at basketball, there's a lot we can take out of it to get certain structures in place for the better of the game. See, I'm just a great believer. The game is bigger than you and me. That's the end of it.
Absolutely.
They will play rugby for the next 500 years. We're definitely not going to be around for 500 years. Okay?
No,
But the thing is, we need to start managing it better. We need to start structuring it better. We need to include the world into rugby. What we have at the moment, and you know that, we have a 6 nations and we have a 4 nations. Okay? And then we have really nothing in between.
Right.
Where the point you make, and that's the point that I like to sit on, is can you imagine, yes, in the beginning it might be, some scores might not be beneficial to some teams.
But you don't get better unless you play against them.
If America plays on a regular basis against Australia, New Zealand, Australia, France, England, whatever, and Canada, and Germany, and whatever, or yes, for a start, keep people at the same strength in the same tier, then of course it's going to work. What you don't want is you don't want India to go and play against South Africa at the moment, because you're going to see 160 now. You don't want to see that. But India against the same strength in a nice competition might actually hold its own. And the thing is that we don't see. So there's seriously somewhere along the line we have to get better structures in place to include every country that wants to play rugby. Even if you start, I saw Bangladesh the other day had their first ever 15-a-side test. Okay, so they're not going to be in the middle; they're going to start at the bottom. But that's how you've got to go. But to be honest, if we just talk game-wise, I think rugby is in a little bit of a space at the moment that's not good for rugby. Why I'm saying that is, there are too many laws that is too confusing.
Yeah.
We hear too often, Northern Hemisphere referees handle it this way, Southern Hemisphere referees handle it this way. Then, we don't want, what we don't want is, we don't want results because of referees.
Yes, because
And
the laws.
unfortunately, there are too many question marks after every international regarding referees. So, for argument's sake, and we've experienced it this year in South Africa, rugby should be a 50-50 game. That means you've got 50% chance of winning the ball, and I've got 50. You know the new scrum law, okay? It's all a little bit confusing.
It's confusing to me.
Yeah, but nobody puts the ball in straight. Nobody.
Nobody.
Okay? So where's the 50-50? Okay? There's no 50-50. Yes, but then people will say, yeah, but you've made the mistake. I should get the advantage. Okay? I don't think when rugby started, that was the idea. Okay? That was the idea. But then in the Currie Cup final, we had two calls this year, where the scrum got penalized. Okay? Now, let's say we had 10,000 games in the world, and you had two calls. Okay? Not wrong, because it's part of the laws. Okay? It's still in the law book. Now, if you don't apply the law, take it out.
Sure.
Because the only thing what people are going to do is they're going to criticize you for making a call on a law that's in the law book. But you're the only guy that did it the whole year. Now, does this make any sense to you?
No,
It doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't. It's look. I don't know if you want to get into this, and you don't have to if you don't want, because I don't put you in the spot. But let's look at the game against the Wallabies the other day. So, declared card, and when you saw that he went for the ball and he held his arm, so obviously he wasn't trying to strike the guy. And then Nick White grabs the ball and leans forward, and Faf swings again, hits him in the nose. He hit him, fair enough. He did hit him. At least it appeared that way in film. But Corabetti, it was a great NFL tackle. Corabetti dives over in the corner, shoulder charge, no arm wrapped around the tackle, and prevents a try from being scored. And there's not even a penalty, let alone a yellow card.
Okay. Firstly, let's look at the Faf incident. Okay, we've got varsity rugby in South Africa. That's very successful. The law is the scrum half's not allowed to go past the middle of the scrum.
Well, they're not following that.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, but they.
I agree. That's how it should be.
So that's a nice law to apply.
Yes.
Because that creates space,
Yep.
and
then you never had an incident like that.
Okay, but now let's be fair. I'm the scrum half, and you the other scrum half. Okay, I'm Faf and you
Nick White.
Nick White. Okay. Now I keep doing this. Okay. Firstly, I'm only going to get penalized by slapping the ball out of your hand. Okay. So why doing anything in the first place?
Yeah.
That's the question that we should look at. Why did he do anything at all?
Fair point.
Okay. To be fair, doesn't matter if they call it an Oscar, the greatest act, whatever. There was contact to the face. Okay, that's it. Okay, that's why I say, and that's what the referee said. I know, I can see you tried this, but you did make contact with the face, and that's it.
It's a fair yellow card. I didn't dispute that.
You see, but all I'm saying is now we can also put it in such a way. It's such a great area that nobody knows if it's the right or a good call or a bad call. Okay, the tackle. Okay, the tackle. And I've got a major problem, not with the tackle. What are we going to suggest? That whoever gets close to the goal line dives up in the air. How are you going to tackle him?
That's a very fair question.
I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
How are you going to, am I going to do that? How are you going to stop that? It's the same as I said to Kobus Biese the other night on the Super Rugby Afrikaans program. If you, that's 5 times my size, coming this low, trying to score a try. Okay? And I need to stand there and do something to see if I can do something to try and stop you scoring a try. And you going low and you coming with your head first. Where else can I grab you?
Once you're around your shoulders or your head, yeah. Exactly. And
And
then
then I'm going to
tackle.
get a card.
And you get a card for high tackle.
You see?
Yeah, it's a lose-lose situation.
That's the point. So that's where I say sometimes you need to use common sense.
And I guess maybe in this case, common sense was applied. Because what else was he going to do?
All I'm saying is, so if I'm the coach now,
Yes.
I will make sure if my wing is 2 meters from the goal line, he's going up in the air.
Yeah.
How are you going to stop that?
You can't?
You can't.
Okay.
So that means every time that should be a try. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was a fair tackle. That's not what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm taking the next step and say, okay, we can say it wasn't a fair tackle. Okay, the left arm did come a little bit late or hang loose or whatever. It doesn't matter. How are you going to get a law that clears that problem so nobody can interpret it the right way or the wrong way? That's what I'm going to see. I'm a little bit more a guy that say, let's get it black and white. Meaning that the mistake by the player must force you by law to blow your whistle.
Mm-hmm.
You know and I know, any ball on the ground, I can blow my whistle and then I can say, you didn't come through the gate, you didn't do this, you didn't stay on your feet. There's about 50 laws, for argument's sake, with the ball on the ground. Now, how do we combat all these laws? Is to say, in my days, the ball was the offside line. So if the ball is on the ground there, and I can come in from the side, and I just tap the ball back. Listen to me carefully. You tap the ball back, you pick the ball up and you pass and you play. What's wrong with that? Now, if I come in from the side, I'm getting penalized. That's it. I must come through the gate. It doesn't make sense. See, the thing is, we overcomplicated the game.
We have.
By creating laws that we apply to the game. I've been analyzing rugby on Supersport now for 28 years. I've seen them all come and go. I've seen all laws come and go. Okay? The one up and under, if you catch an up and under, doesn't matter if you get tackled or whatever, you keep the ball. Now suddenly, I catch the ball, I fall to the ground, there's a next guy putting his hands on the ball, and then I'm getting penalized for holding on to the ball. Now, the problem I have with so many laws is, if you get tackled, okay, and I've said this so many times on TV, you get tackled, okay? The law states you must be able to place the ball immediately. Okay, that means, you know the game, I'm going to take this ball. That means I'm on the ground, I've been tackled. I must be able to place the ball immediately. Mm-hmm. What happens? I'm on my back.
Someone jumps on you.
The next guy puts his hands on the ball. Mm-hmm. Okay, next guy. Not the tackler, you're the tackler. The next guy, your assistant, your second tackler, puts his hands on the ball. I get penalized for holding on to the ball. What's the first rule? Is I must be able to place the ball. That's why rugby at the moment is killing the ball in hand play. That's why it was sad to hear this week that Ian Foster said New Zealand will need to adapt the way they play because the laws actually don't allow them ball in hand. Now, whoever created rugby created, I think, in his mind a game where people run and pass and skillful people. Sure. That's one. Secondly, rugby is the only sport that accommodates everybody. Sure. If you're a little bit overweight, you're closer to the forwards. If you're a little bit taller, you play either basketball or you get in the tight five. If you're a little bit stronger and this and this and this, you get to the loose forwards. If you're a little bit a thinker and whatever, you go to 9 and 10. If you quick and fast and whatever, and strong, you go in the midfield. If you're really fast, you go on the outside. If you've got all the skill, you go into fullback. It's the only sport accommodating everybody.
That's a fair point.
But with the laws now, what are we trying to create? Do we trying to create 15 athletes playing rugby? There's still people that needs to scrum. Ask England, they can't figure that one out. Okay?
True.
You need to win your lineups. You
Well,
need,
the throws need to be straight first.
then you need to win your kickoffs. Ask New Zealand against Argentina. They lost the kickoff. They lost the game. One kickoff. Just one kickoff. Okay? You need to win the ball on the ground. You need to be able to pass. You need to be able to catch. You need to be able to properly kick. You need to. So there's so many little aspects put together. That's why it's such a unique game.
Yeah, so right.
You
But the laws can kill the game.
The laws are killing the game. It's not like it is killing the game. What do we have? I made a tongue-in-cheek joke the other day. I said, whoever needs a new coach, and the way we're kicking the ball just downfield, nowhere, no tactical thinking, whatever. Just go and get the coach of Man City to coach you.
Okay, interesting.
Because that's a kicking game that we're playing at the moment.
Well, it's
And one thing is for sure, he created a team. I'm a Liverpool supporter, but he created a team that's hardly, you hardly beat it. Hardly.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
The kicking game can, and of course you're a famous kicker and quite talented when you're in the game. Very accurate, hence the nickname and everything. But the kicking game, I get frustrated like the game against the All Blacks, the one at Ellis Park. I mean, 23-21, 8.5 minutes left in the game, and this box kick comes over the top, and the defense isn't there, and the All Blacks come down, and the game turns around in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but you see, now let's take another one that's quite interesting, the up and under.
Sure.
Okay. If you don't get your jump right, you get a goal.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do I do as a coach? I tell my player, okay, there's a question mark, and I think I've seen ESPN actually do all these research on quickness and this and that and whatever. What they should do is they should actually go and work out. A guy standing still, so that means there's an up and under. I run quickly, get underneath the ball. I'm jumping up in the air. You coming and you running like this, and you jump. Can you jump higher than me, running this way, or are you going to be able to beat me jumping like this by jumping like that? I'm not too sure. Okay. Hopefully somebody can do the research. But I would think the guy that's always standing underneath the ball, okay, has got a better chance, because
The angle.
yes, you can jump, but
You've got an angle. You've got to come.
you're going up with an angle where this guy is straight up. Okay. So if you don't get the jump right, you do get a card, because you have to protect the catcher of the ball.
Yeah, Curtly Arnce's card was warranted. The card he got.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was absolutely. It was sad because I was excited. It was good to see him come from the Bulls. I was calling for him to be called up. He got called up. It was the second test, and I really think it was his coming out party, because the previous game I said the problem for Curtly Arnce is he never got a chance with ball in hand. Every time they passed the ball, he had 3 defenders. He was next to the touchline, and I said that's not Curtly Arnce. You just got to give him the ball a little bit of space, and he proved it in that game. It was a brilliant game, and unfortunately that card again, but it was warranted.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, you have to now. The thing is, what if as a coach, what are you trying to achieve by kicking the ball away? You want to give yourself a 50-50 chance of winning the ball back. Okay, but think about this: 90% of the scrum half stand very close to where the ball is. They take the ball off the ground and they kick it. Now, if you take any lock at the moment, Retallic, it's a bit, name it. Just I told you, name it. If they go like that, it's like a little bit like American football. You take a goal kick, okay, touchdown kick or whatever, okay. That ball needs to go up, because 7 yards away there's a guy that's 6'9", he's jumping in there. So you can't kick like in rugby flat like that. You need to kick it up, okay. So scrum halves, that's too close, Either, and we've seen it in the last couple of internationals, they just kick it straight up. So anybody in a radius of 10 meters are all offside.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So now then they go and they turn away. So they've got absolutely no vision what's there. And then they kick it too far. Okay, because the foot is working over the ball, and that means the ball is going to travel there and not there. So what's the coaching? The coaching is you get somebody, if you want to do that, pass the ball to the guy 2 meters back. He's got all the space, doesn't need to kick it up because nobody can charge him down, and he doesn't need to kick it too far because he's running back and he can't see what he's doing. So there's a little bit of a technical coaching there that can solve that problem. But at the end, the player that's charging down the field needs to sum up. Can I? Can't I? If I can, I try. But the risk is too high, and you know that. So what's the better thing? Let the guy catch the ball and then tackle the guy. The next guy is there. I explained to you earlier, they don't apply the law where you catch the ball and it's your ball. Okay? So I think what we are doing here is we're just confusing ourselves. And we thought we actually know the game. And it started sounding like we don't know the game. Okay? Now, if we feel like that, and we actually live it 24/7. Imagine a guy that's just going out of an invite. You invite your friend. Say, come and watch the game. He will sit there and he'll say, what happened? Yeah. Why did they get the ball down? You take American football. You know precisely what can happen.
Right. If there's a holding, you know it's a holding. If there's an illegal hit, it's a clear penalty. Yeah. Whereas in rugby, you're like, and I have to be honest. Look, I mean, I know we're going to talk about rugby laws, but this is a fascinating conversation. I got to be honest. Half the time, the penalty's called in scrum. I have no idea. I'm like, I thought the other side had the penalty against. Yeah, you can see when guys don't bind, you see that. But I mean, a lot of that, it gets very confusing.
The thing is, in the old days, you hit.
Yes.
Okay, you hit, and I think hit stabilized the scrum.
Yes.
Now you're too close.
Yeah.
I know all it's about all safety.
Sure.
Okay, all about safety. But if you hit, you can maneuver. Okay. But what I don't understand, you go down in the scrum, and you see the props doing this.
Yeah.
Before the ball is actually.
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you allow that?
It should stop it right there.
You just stop it there because at the end, what's going to happen? It's either going to
collapse on one side
or
it's going
collapsing,
to roll around.
who's putting his arm down, whatever. Just stop. Tell the forwards, okay, if you don't go straight and forward, then we will scrum. I mentioned it to a referee one day. He said, okay, now what if we see 100 scrums because nobody is, I said, but then that's coaching, isn't it? Okay, let's be fair now. Then we're talking coaching. If you know, because I don't think front row is the easiest position to play. You've got 8 guys on this side, and you've got 8 guys on this side, trying to overpower each other, okay? Forcing an issue, because that's the only, think about it, it's the only facet or aspect in rugby where you can actually bully me. It's the only the scrums. Because if you're stronger than me, you're going to scrum. Okay? Me. Now what's going to happen? I'm either going to pop up, down, or sideways. Okay? In a ruck, what happens in a ruck? I'm standing there and I'm trying to win the ball and you run from there and you hit me with the shoulder. That's a physical aspect that I absolutely don't believe in. Okay? I believe if you part off the second phase, you're allowed to do whatever. I'm a great believer, a guy from the outside can't come in and make contact. And we've seen that a couple of times. And we've seen how many players leave the field with an injury. So that's another thing where they need to say, if if that thing is formed, whoever is involved, they must sort it out. Okay? And nobody else can come in unless you come in and you bind properly. Now, what we're talking about at the end is how you interpret the way binding. But we've seen guys running with the shoulder, hitting somebody out of the pool, and that guy is off the field. Now, that's why I say the scrum is the only fair play where you can bully me. If you bully me in a second and third phase, I promise you 99%, Chris, it's outside the law, not inside. But it doesn't get blown by the referee because sometimes you see a ref, there's a guy standing and guy taking out and they fall 2 meters behind the ball and then you get a penalty, whatever. That's why I say everything is too complicated.
Yeah. Well, Naas, back when you played in the States in your day, we didn't have professional rugby, and professional rugby was just coming around anyway, everywhere. But we've got Major League Rugby now in the States.
Yeah.
And 5 seasons now. I interviewed Jonathan Kaplan last year. They brought him in to help improve the officiating. If we're honest, South African phrase people always say is "if I'm honest," and I always say, well, what would you be other than honest? But if I'm honest, that's a South African phrase. The officiating in the first couple of years was uneven in Major League Rugby. I think Jonathan Kaplan, and he's got an assistant team or another guy who worked with him, coming in had a major impact on improving the quality of our officiating in Major League Rugby. The quality of play has also improved as a consequence of having a few years. Also, a lot of internationals come in. A lot of South Africans have been there. Some Kiwis have come in, and it's made a big difference to the game. Have you followed Major League Rugby?
I do, and there are things that I like,
The things you don't like.
and there's things that I don't like.
Okay.
I spent 6 years in Italy,
Yes.
and we were 12 teams in the
You won 2 championships.
Yeah, 2 championships. We were 12 teams in the first league in those days. Okay, and we're talking different years.
This was a Rovigo, I think.
Yeah, Rugby, yeah. But we were 10 foreign flyers. Now, somewhere along the line, the system is wrong. Okay, but that I'm talking those days. Now, whoever is good enough should play.
Sure.
Okay, but what's the best for American rugby is to have, and I'm not sure of all the rules and regulations, whatever. But it's a professional sport now. You take soccer sometimes. You take a team like Arsenal. Sometimes there's not one English player playing for them in a game. So is it beneficial to England soccer? Is that maybe why they only won a World Cup in 1966? Okay. All I'm saying is, the thing is, if it's, and it is professional sport now, so if I'm an owner of the Houston whatever, okay, I will buy whoever I want, okay, to win the championship.
Sure.
That's it. That's the end of it. Okay. But is that beneficial to USA rugby? Is that going to make USA rugby stronger if I've got 13 foreigners out of 15 in my team?
Well, there's 2 arguments there, Naas, and I think that people make them on both sides. One is that Major League Rugby is not responsible for developing USA Rugby. That's an argument. Some people make that argument, and they'll say that they've got to provide a product that's dynamic, that brings the crowds in, which is an aspect that needs to improve. We need more people, more bums in the seats, but the play has been good. So I think that's one. But the other argument, and I've interviewed Gary Gold several times, and Gary is very grateful that Major League Rugby is there because it gives him an opportunity to scout players and see them play. Whereas before you'd have to travel over the country to universities and clubs to see players. Now you can see them play Major Rugby. But yeah, your point is that, if I understand it correctly, is that does it really help the game of rugby in America and improve the Eagles and eventually our level of competition if so many foreigners come in? I think that's your point.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make, there's no wrong here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
That I agree with. Yes.
There's no wrong.
We're in the same boat.
If I'm the owner, I buy whoever I want.
Yeah.
If you're the owner, you buy whoever you want. Okay. If there's 2 Americans, okay, we're not there to solve Gary's problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And Gary does have a problem.
Yeah, and he has. Okay. But there should be structures.
Yes.
Okay. Or we say, listen, people, we need to make a clear cut. There's professional rugby and there's amateur or semi-pro rugby. Okay. Then we use semi-pro and amateur rugby to create an opportunity for Americans to get into the major league. Okay. Like if you take South Africa, we're fortunate that we've got quite a strong home competition, same as New Zealand. Okay, I think Australia, they're trying to get there. England's got a nice structure. Okay, France has got a nice structure. Okay, all I'm saying is it can work, but then we need to make the cut. But we can't make the cut because we have this whole philosophy in rugby. It's a big family. If I look at my family, okay, I'm unfortunately the only one of my own family left, okay? But I mean, I have a family. I'm not playing sport to get another family, okay? And what I have in a family, I don't want more family.
There's some relations you don't want around anyway.
I had enough now, okay? So what I'm
Oh, you
saying
look at
is,
the number, I'm not answering that number.
no, but I'm just saying, you see, we're getting confused. We want to make it a professional game. But then we also want to run it like an amateur professional scenario, where we should say, listen, this is the structure. And that's where I would like to see World Rugby have a strong say, not say in this is how we do it, in guidance on what is good for rugby.
Sure.
Because at the end, we all talk what? We talk rugby. How we can make the game better. How we can make it more attractive. We've tried everything. Ask me. Concerts before the game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to a rugby field to
So
see a
nice.
concert. Okay? I'm not interested in that.
I want the game.
I want the game. Then in my days, and that's why I say we different eras, is that we had curtain raisers. Okay? Now you don't. Now you must actually sit there for an hour and watch people warm up.
Yeah.
Let them warm up somewhere else.
Exactly.
Go and have another game. Get people to play. That's the point I'm trying to make. But you see, now people might say, yeah, you see, you want pro rugby, but you want amateur with that. And we see, okay. All I'm saying is, if you watch the Cowboys playing the Chiefs, that's the game you go to watch.
Yep.
But American football is a 60-minute game, but it's take about 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Rugby is an 80-minute game and it takes 90 minutes max. Okay, sometimes a little bit over, but that's it. Okay, so I'm not interested in see who's warming up where and whatever. So I'm just saying there's so many different aspects that we can debate. But the thing is, the two of us can debate here,
Till the cows come home.
but it's not going to change
anything now.
See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So yes, MRL works. Okay, if it is at full capacity, I don't know, but we need America to buy into it.
Absolutely. No, see, that's one of the things I said. When they expanded Super Rugby, I mean, the travel would have been brutal, but there's a way to do this. But when they expanded Super Rugby, they added Japan team, they added the Jaguars, and they got to 18 teams. It was too much. I think the talent pool was diluted, and we saw what happened.
Absolutely.
And I kind of said that before it happened, but when they did, I said, if you're going to take that step, you might as well pick up a team in San Diego, Los Angeles, or Hawaii. And the reason for that is that we both know that whatever people think of sports, there's no doubt that America has the biggest marketing market on the planet. It has the biggest sports promotion on the planet. We have people watching archery in the States. People tuning to watch that. It's incredible. And if you want to get global attention to a sport other than soccer, football, which is just everywhere, you really need to have a foothold in the United States. And that's why I thought it was so important. So that's why I was really excited to see Major League Rugby come along. It's nice to see that. It would have been nice to have a Super Rugby franchise, but I think it would have been a very difficult proposition. But my argument for a long time was, if you want rugby to truly take off and the money to flow from sports broadcasting, and from advertisements, stuff like that. You've got to get a, and when I say get, we've got to get a
No, but you see, that's, I totally agree. That's out of the world.
Yes.
Now you're talking this out of the world, you need to get in there.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. I mean,
All I'm saying is 1.3 billion people. They might not be the best rugby players. They might not. All I'm saying,
but there's potential.
there's potential. You see, but then everybody collectively needs to work together to make it a global game. But unfortunately, it looks like rugby is about 12 teams.
Well, I mean,
When we get to World Cup, then it's about 20 teams.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know if you want to dive into this one, Naas. You don't have to. We can move right past it. I've got another topic to bring up. But the problem I say about rugby is that I find it frustrating. It's still kind of the old boys club, and the top 8 teams are really where the focus is. That's from the outside looking in. It's back to the thing where, getting the smaller nations or the non-traditional nations to get tested against the big players is difficult. But a few years ago, the discussion went, I think Pinche was there and World Rugby at the time, and there was a discussion about expanding to 24 teams in the World Cup. I'm adamantly opposed to that, and this is my reason for it. I mean, I love to see 24 teams. I go to the pool stage. I've been to every World Cup since 2011. 2011 New Zealand, 2014 in Paris for women, 2015 in England, 16 games, 2017 in Ireland for the women, 2018 San Francisco Sevens, and 2019 18 games in Japan, all in the pool stage. And so I love this stuff, and I'd love to see more teams, but we have rugby unions that are bankrupt. I mean, look, the Springboks only took a test against Wales in USA a couple years ago to get the $750,000 price that came with it. They got paid that by USA Rugby. So they came there and played Wales, and sorry for
And lost.
And yeah, well, and I was angry at Rossi, but I realized afterwards what Rossi was doing, and at least I think he was doing. He was trying to see what he had. But yeah, it was a third world stadium. I was going to apologize for them playing at RFK. We had beautiful stadiums nearby, and they played at that horrible stadium. But
You on the 24 teams World Cup?
Yeah, 2014. So, but we had Zimbabwe go to Tunisia to qualify, and they were thrown out on the street and slept rough because they couldn't pay their hotel bill.
Yeah.
USA went bankrupt. USA Rugby went bankrupt. The Springboks barely getting by for a period of time there. The Sarawak didn't have the money. So my point is that when the financial state of so many rugby unions around the planet is so dire, it's not the time to expand the World Cup. We've got to shore up the finances of these rugby unions, whether it's mismanagement, whether it's a lack of interest, whatever the case is. There's different reasons for it. But I mean, if you have Sorrow that was struggling financially, that's bad for rugby. And expanding it to bring the other nations, I think, wasn't a strong point. And that was my argument against it at the time.
No, I absolutely agree. The problem I have is we look at 20 teams in the World Cup, and it's good. Okay, we're not. The thing that people need to understand about this discussion, we're not anti anything.
No, we're just talking.
We just talking. Okay, we're not saying we've got all the answers, because we don't. Okay, we just give a couple of opinions that people might debate on, and hopefully somewhere along the line. Okay, but you talk going to next year's World Cup 2023. France is looking good.
They are.
New Zealand's confused.
Very.
Australia is confused.
Very.
Argentina actually for once look organized.
Yep.
It just shows you, Checo and Australia never convinced me it works. Checo and Argentina is definitely working.
Completely different game.
Absolutely.
I thought he was a horrible coach in Australia, but he's brilliant in Argentina.
Absolutely. So give him credit. Okay. South Africa, I think we're actually better off than results give us at the moment. And I'm not subjective here, I'm objective.
Yes.
Okay. Ireland's looking good.
Yes.
Okay. Scotland,
No.
no. Wales, no. Japan, no. Now, what would we like?
England, no.
Okay. England's a little bit confused.
Yes.
Okay. So what do we have? We have France, Argentina. Okay. We're just talking on form as it
At
is
this
at the
moment.
moment. Problems can be sorted out in New Zealand, South Africa. Australia, I've got a little bit of question marks. They did beat South Africa, but I still don't think it's a great side. Okay. If I look at the side on paper, but they give Rennie maybe the coach, a little bit more credit.
I think so.
Okay.
I think coaching played a big role.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great job. Okay. Eddie Jones, I, 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 I don't know him very well. Okay. I don't think the pool of players is that great at the moment in England.
I would agree. I think
Okay.
Eddie's a great coach.
Yeah,
I think he has the right players.
yeah, I just think some people just don't like him, so they've got too many opinions about the guy. I don't think the pool of players at the moment is that great. It's a little bit like up and down, okay? But I mean, we talk Argentina, France, New Zealand, South Africa, England, Ireland, okay? Now, why don't we have a 16 World Cup? That's just a stupid remark, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but it's actually a very funny remark.
Yeah, but it's a stupid remark but that's what we're looking at. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the sad part is Fiji is absolutely brilliant in sevens.
They are.
Samoa is doing well in sevens. Tonga is absolutely nowhere. Okay. But I mean, somewhere along the line, they contribute a little bit to some surprises in World Cup rugby, okay, in the World Cup.
Sure.
Because at the end, what people forget, okay, a World Cup won in 7 weeks. The team that performs for 7 weeks wins the World Cup.
All the
It
stuff
doesn't
before
matter
doesn't matter.
what happened in the 4 years.
And
The
I think
4
that
years,
was Ross's plan the first time.
the 4-year thing came through coaches that protected their jobs by saying, "Oh, I'm trying all this
To get to this.
to get to the World Cup." Then they don't win the World Cup, but they don't resign either.
Yeah, there's a bit of that happens.
No, I'm just saying. Then they don't resign. Then they want to fight for their job. They just told us for 4 years, take all the knocks. We must accept everything they say,
Just to get to the World Cup and win it.
and then they don't win the World Cup. Okay? Yes, if Scotland, you can't blame Townsend because, I can't see Scotland ever winning the World Cup. And I don't mean it badly. I can't see Wales winning a World Cup. I can see Ireland doing it.
Well, I think Wales had a
England
chance.
did. Australia
Wales
did.
had a
New
chance
Zealand
a
did.
few years ago, but that talent's gone.
All I'm saying is, now that there's a question that we have to address. Okay, is it really all about the players pool we have at the moment? Okay, or is it too much coaching? Okay, coach all the skill out of the players because of the new game plans. Okay, in American football, it's easy to have a game plan. Why? Because you play for 30 seconds at most, and then there's a break.
And you have another players on.
And then another play, and another play. Okay? Why? Because American football, and I was fortunate to be part of both. Okay? You take the ball, you throw it to me, I knock it. Okay? You get the ball again. You throw it to me, I go 8 yards. You get it again. I go another 3 yards. You get it again. Because now it's first and 10 again. And you keep playing and playing and playing and playing. Rugby, you pass to me, I knock it. It's not our ball anymore. So, where's this game plan now suddenly of rugby that we all talk about? Okay? We all talk game. How many times have you heard after a game? We lost because we didn't stick to the game plan.
And I'm scratching my head. What exactly was the plan?
Okay? But you see now, the debate we're getting.
Sure.
Okay? So when rugby turned professional, a lot of coaches went to America and created playbooks. They created playbooks. Now, I don't say it's wrong. I'm just saying I need a framework to operate in. But and I know, some coaches stick to a game plan. But if you don't throw the ball in straight, doesn't matter what the second, third, fourth call was, it's all gone because it's somebody else's ball.
Yep.
In American football, it's not like that.
No, it's not.
Now, that's what people don't understand. That's why I'm not buying too much into this game plan scenario, playbook scenario. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. We see more pictures, and it is because it's a lot more physical. Is it more physical because lack of skill? Okay, because that means I'm running like this, you passing me the ball. I don't have skill under pressure to take that ball and pass it to that guy. So what do? I take that ball, put it under my arm, and I'm making contact with you. Okay, so is it a lack of skill or a lack of reading, feeling pressure? You understand where I'm coming from?
I got you completely. Makes all the sense.
Now, and I think there's sometimes just absolutely a lack of skill. Okay,
Could be the case, yeah, indeed.
because I've listened to guys and I ask guys how do they train, because I try to learn, because I can't just go and give an opinion and I've got absolutely no idea. And then they'll say, we did 10 scrums. Okay, just okay, it's good. Okay, we did 20 minutes scrum, 20 minutes line out, 20 minutes this, 20 minutes that, 20 minutes that. That's not the problem. We did 7 grids. That's not the problem. What's the quality of the grids that you're doing? So now I'm getting to detail. And I've got a couple of my own opinions. You can only teach me what you know.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know anything,
Then you're not gonna learn anything.
but how do I know that? Because I believe you.
So you're hopeless.
No, but you,
but yeah, exactly.
you get my point.
I
What
get
I'm
your
trying
point.
to say. You know?
Yep.
Now, I don't know you don't know anything.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying I know everything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't know you know everything. And it's all over the market. We all know that. I've attended 20 clinics. And then seriously, and I'll ask the guy, just give me a couple of names. I've never heard of some of the guys. If it's a Jake White, Rassie Erasmus, Eddie Jones, Bob Dwyer, you name them, Hanson, then I'll say, that's interesting, Wayne Smith. Of course I want to go and listen to what he's done. But they say, they're giving me names, and I say, like,
Who's that?
I've never heard of that guy. Now, I'm not saying that guy knows nothing. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
But it's an unknown entity to you.
Yeah, you see, so I don't understand this, but who's getting the jobs? The guy that did 20 courses, the guy that did the best presentation. We apply for a job, the two of us. You get the job because your presentation is better than mine.
Yeah, but
Excuse me now.
But you got 179 appearances for the Bulls and 28 for the Springboks.
No, but excuse me, sir. You got a professional guy to do your presentation for you.
Yeah.
Does that mean you now the better coach?
No, just I look shinier on the day.
Okay, now we get on the field, and then we sit there. We need to commentate on that, or we need to analyze that, and we see a mistake of a player. Okay, 3 years later, we still see the same mistake. Now, the question I ask, where's the detail? Or did the game plan scenario replace detailed coaching? Or, as a coach, do you know enough to be a proper coach?
It's a fair question. Absolutely.
And that's why I say, please, whoever listens to this is nothing personal towards anyone.
No.
We're just talking in general. We want to see a better game.
Right, we both want to see the game improve.
Yeah, we just want the game to improve. Okay, but now, and it happens in certain provincial sides. Young players will tell me they rocked up for their first training. The coach walked in and he said, "This is the philosophy of this union, and if you don't want to play according to this, take your stuff and go." Okay, but there's no skill involved, there's no thinking involved, there's no rugby IQ involved. It's I'm deciding how we play. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, listen to me. I don't have a problem with that. But what gives me the right that's never played at certain levels to decide how you're going to play? I'm just asking the question.
No. I like the question. I like the question. It's a good question.
I'm just saying. You've never done it.
Yeah.
You've never done it. But you're the one that's working out for an under 20 team how to go and play what game. If it's a Jake White, I can say yes. If it's a Rassie Erasmus, I can say yes. If it's a Eddie Jones, I can say yes. I understand that.
Yep.
You know, there's Robertson from New Zealand. I think he's one of the better coaches I've seen in a long time. Gaultier of France. They've done it.
Yeah.
That's why he can actually work out a framework, not a plan, a framework for you to operate in. Okay? And then what's his main job? Is to give you all the skill to go and execute what he wants. Okay? But we've got too many guys that's never done certain things that actually comes to juniors and say, if you don't want to do this, you go. And then I would actually sit there and say, but excuse me, sir, when did you do this?
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Naas, before we wrap up, let me shift to another thing here. We'll talk about your career, okay? You're smiling. We could talk all day, and I don't know if you have all day, so.
I do have all day.
You
No,
do.
it's just because I think what you realize is we just love the game.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I could talk for hours about it. And isn't it funny to talk to an American who loves rugby so much?
Well, I won your National League, you know, that in 1984. Dallas Hollywood.
You went to one time.
I only played the one, but I mean, and that was a fantastic experience. But you see, what people don't understand, in those days, we practiced in a park, not in rugby fields and whatever. So, you know, that's what people sometimes don't appreciate. You have to, I always say, you can only understand what I'm in if you stand in my shoes.
In my boots, yeah.
Otherwise, you just can't. Okay, you can't even relate. Okay, now that's where I seriously, I actually complimented their American rugby because they made a success of something that should be questioned, and we had a fantastic semi-final, final, and at the end, like that was our good one. And okay, so we got the freedom of town for 5 days, I think, from the mayor and whatever. Okay, but I mean, it was all good and fun, and I know life changed totally over the last 30 years.
Yeah, it has.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. At the end, it's still a game we love. Okay, you can go on now.
No, but well, now that's opened up another topic very quickly. You know, so I recently interviewed Henneke Meyer with Houston. It was great to interview him to talk about the impact of South African style coming to the States for Major League Rugby. And
while you're on that,
okay, good.
While you're on that,
Okay,
I've experienced that in me.
Okay,
and I've got a problem with that.
Okay,
not with the Heineken's opinion,
yes,
okay, but I have a problem with. Fiji will arrive, then they got an Italian Bulgarian side together, okay, and then I will play for them. Yes, on that day, those Fijians run absolutely riot against that Italian Bulgarian side. Next day in the paper, Italy must play like Fiji. You know what's the reality? Fijians can play like that, not Italians.
yeah, not Italians, yeah.
Americans must play
Like Americans.
not like South Africans.
Yeah, no,
The only way you can play like South Africa is with South Africans. The only way you can play like the All Blacks is with All Blacks.
Fair
You
point.
know? And there's too many times, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Look at France. How confused they were until Gaultier actually took over.
They were very.
They wanted to play like South Africa at one stage.
They couldn't do it.
They wanted to play like New Zealand at one stage. They wanted to play like England at one stage. They wanted to play like everybody, except the way they should play.
And that's what they're doing now.
What's good for American rugby is to have foreign knowledge coming into the game.
And that's the point I was making with Henneke Meyer. Henneke didn't imply, I don't want you to get the wrong president. What that was, I was asking with knowledge and experience of South African players coming over because they're accustomed to success or accustomed to doing it a certain way. bringing that in, that certainly plays a role. That Henneke wasn't, and I
Yeah,
wasn't.
but you luckily you did bring up the point, so we
Yeah,
can
it's a good,
actually
yeah,
clear
it's a
that
good point.
because
It's a good point.
that's where people also getting confused.
They
okay?
do. They do.
Seriously, because you play against somebody and you think, okay, it's like you having a restaurant. You're having a restaurant, and you're the best chef and best manager. And I go out for a meal and I think, yes, that was absolutely amazing. Tomorrow now I want to open a restaurant. I don't have your personality. I don't have this. I don't have that.
Don't have the skills, the experience yet.
But we do that mistake in rugby.
Yeah.
There's too many times people want to play like somebody else. Take whatever you've got. Take whatever you've got. Then take that and then you go and figure out how I'm going to apply these 15 minds, put them into a unit that can actually give me some results. That's your job.
Absolutely. No, that's a good point. And you're right. It is good that I raised it, even if it came across incorrectly. We've got to the point there. When you played for the Springboks, that was a different era, and even without boycotts, players playing for national sides didn't rack up the number of tests that you see now. So now it's becoming, I wouldn't say common, but it's common to see someone get to 50 tests. It's not as common, of course, to become a centurion, but there are plenty of centurions now for South Africa, for England, for other countries, New Zealand. So this is a question I want to ask you, Naas, because I mean you were a prolific scorer with the boot, and you also scored tries. You had, I think, 312 points as a Springbok, which was the record for a long time. I think Percy Montgomery finally surpassed you, but you did it in 28 tests. He had 50 tests when he got there. The Percy's a great player. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, we're not comparing.
Yeah, we're not comparing.
That's one thing.
Yeah, I want to make sure that's
one
clear.
thing in life.
Yeah.
We don't compare.
Exactly.
That is the worst thing, and everybody wants to compare.
Right, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
The reason for the numbers is the following. Do you wish or hope, or have you ever, back in the day, wished that there'd been more tests, or was 28 enough? I mean, do you hope that you got to play more games as a Springbok? Because wearing the jersey, putting that jersey on, it's got to be an incredible experience, and so would you like to, if it was a different era, would you like to play it on? Because you played so many games for the Bulls, so many games for Rugby. Would you like to play for 50, 100 tests? Was it too difficult?
No, there's a couple of things.
Okay.
Politics played
Yes.
a major part
Right, the
in
boycotts.
my era.
Yes.
Okay, that's one. Okay, I've seen and I've been very fortunate to play with exceptional rugby players that never had the opportunity to play in the green and gold. That should have.
Yes.
Okay. So in a way, I look at it. Unfortunately, because of politics, okay, I had at least an opportunity to play 28 internationals. Okay, I, for argument's sake, never played against America, Canada, Scotland, Wales, never.
You would like to
Spain, Fiji, Tonga, whatever. Never played against those guys. Okay, but I was fortunate. That's the way I look at my career. I was very fortunate to at least play 28 internationals. It could have been none. Could have been in a time zone that we didn't play one. I was very fortunate. Okay, that's why I always had this attitude. I'm a rugby player. That's why I went to America, tried with the Cowboys. I went to Italy. I played in Ireland for Lansdowne Road. I tried something to do with the opportunities I had. Okay. In our days, how many administrators said, over my dead body, you will not play for a cent. Okay. Now, the question I raise now is rugby worse off because we're playing for money, or is it better off? Okay, I think we're better off.
I think so too.
I think we're better off. Okay, but don't ignore the guy that played in 18 something, that he contributed to something to where we are today.
Absolutely.
Okay, now and I know because of politics, certain eras are just getting absolutely ignored. Okay, and it's sad. It's sad. Okay, it shouldn't be like that, but it is like that. Okay, but what I would like to say about my career is I was fortunate. I had fantastic opposition that I played against. I had fantastic teammates I played with. So I just look back at it and say, you know what? The only thing that I want to add to this whole thing is even a Frick de Pre should have played in a World Cup. That never happened. That never materialized. I was in an era I could have played 2, okay, maybe 3, but 87 and 91, but because of politics we didn't do that. Okay, so I was closer to that, but because of this whole thing of an amateur sport run by amateurs, we missed out on a number of opportunities. Okay, and that's the sad thing. But you know, is it all wrong that happened? What happened? That's a question that we will never have an answer.
It happened.
It's irrelevant.
It's
irrelevant.
It's not germane.
That's my point. If you ask me about my career, would I have loved to do this? I say, you know what? To be honest, it's all irrelevant because I didn't do it. Because of certain reasons.
That's a fair point.
And that's I tried to make as much out of my career as possible. And I can seriously look back and say, you know what? I'm very happy with what I did. Okay. People say, yeah, but wouldn't you have loved to play today? I said, no. I said, I'm too old to play now. Yeah, but you know, I said, hey, different eras, different politicians, different this, different that. So you have to take everything in consideration. Okay. But now, not a lot of people can say this. In 1970, I was 12 years old. I played Northern Transvaal Primary School. I played a curtain raiser for the All Blacks. Okay. In 1976, I played I think in total about 8 curtain raisers for the All Blacks in 1976. Then I was fortunate enough to start it in 1980, playing for South Africa till 92. So, what else? What else can you ask? Okay. I think if you ask me, did you really enjoy what you did? Yes. What I sometimes, and I'll tell you a quick little story.
Sure.
Listen to this, okay? We played a Lion Cup semi-final on a Saturday. One of my friends phoned that night and said, you want to go to Wimbledon? I said, that sounds a good plan. Okay, that sounds a good plan. He says, okay. I said, when are we flying? He said, tonight. I said, what? Now we're playing the final a week later. Okay. I said, what? He said, yeah, we're flying. So I phoned to the coach, now I'm injured. But seriously, I had a slight ankle injury.
Yeah, sure you
Okay?
did.
No.
Okay.
I had.
Okay.
Because I did a little bit of, but nothing major.
Okay.
Nothing major. In our days, you know how it was. You don't give another guy an opportunity because if he
You'll
takes
never get
over,
back up there.
you out.
Yep.
So you don't take chances. Okay. So that night on the plane, gone. Okay. Now instead of behaving, okay.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
Who's doing commentary or sit next to the commentator at Wimbledon Centre Court on a Monday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, giving some comments about tennis? Mr. Botha, how stupid can anybody be? Instead of just disappear. Okay. Okay, so I came back a week later, they lost the final. Now everybody is upset. Okay. But think what the story, what I'm telling you, it's not the story that's the importance. Yes. Is that we were amateurs.
Yeah.
We never had contracts. We never owed anybody anything. We could actually have done whatever we wanted. Okay. But it just shows you the mentality of the sportsman in the old days.
Yep.
Without any reason, they acted quite professional.
Yeah.
Never late for training, never late for this, never did this. We trained 5.5 hours per week, 2 on a Monday, 2 on a Wednesday, 5.5 hours. I don't think we played bad rugby for the amount of training we did. You see? So, that's the thing that stands out for me is how we got influenced that people actually controlled us that much without any reason. Okay, so but that's that era.
Yes.
And was it all wrong? Then I would say no. Was it all right? I would also say no. Do I have the answers? No. The only thing to get to your question, I would have loved, not only for me, for a number of players, for a Frik de Pre, a Jannie Engelbrecht, you name them, years and years ago, okay, to be part of, let's say, a World Cup. Because I think if you look at sport, the Olympic Games must be the ultimate in athletics. Sure. I don't care what people say. Super Bowl must be the ultimate in American football. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup, you name it. Your 4 Grand Slams, your 4 majors. So what's rugby? It's a World Cup. And unfortunately, we never had that opportunity. But, you know.
But you had a heck of a career. I mean, like you said, you played for the Bulls, and then Northern Transvaal, as it was called. You played for the Springboks. You played for Rovigo. You came and played and won the championship. With 2 championships in Italy. Did you win like 9 Curry Cup titles, something like that?
Yeah, I've got 9. I've got out of the 11, I've got 9 medals. Put it that way.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. That plus the 2 championships in Italy, the club championship in the U.S., and you mentioned something earlier. You played also. Did you say England or Ireland?
No, I played for Lancashire.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So.
Yeah, no, that was Nicklin actually invited me over. He was part of the World 15 in 1977.
Okay.
And we just hit it off, and he invited us, my brother, myself, and another player, and we went over there for 4 months, and I had absolutely a blast.
Cool.
Never saw the sun. Never saw the sun.
It doesn't have sun. That's why solar power doesn't work in the UK or Ireland.
But to be honest, I had an absolute blast. I had a blast with the guys in America. I really, really met some fantastic guys that I'm still friends with the guys in America.
That's awesome.
You know, that happened in 83, 84.
That's wonderful.
That just shows you what rugby can do. And then I was fortunate, seriously, I was fortunate. Doesn't matter how you look at it. I was fortunate to play against the British and Irish guys. Very fortunate. Okay? And I was fortunate to tour New Zealand as a Springbok.
Yeah.
I know, very difficult circumstances and whatever, it doesn't matter. I was fortunate. Those 2 things will stand out in my career. Yeah, carry cups, of course, that's all we had to do. You know, but you know, I think somewhere along the line, and that's why I said to you earlier on, I'm one of those people. I hate people trying to compare this guy to that guy, because this guy plays in Northern Hemisphere when it's 90% raining, the wind is blowing you off the park, there's whatever, then you get us playing in sunshine every Saturday. How do you compare one guy to what we should do collectively is say? What did you bring to the table to make rugby a better game? If you did something, we'll acknowledge it. If I did something that one little boy said, I like this guy, or a grandmother said, I like the game because of that, then we contributed to make it a better game. And I think we need to stop deciding. Athletics is easy. Bolt is just better and faster than anybody else.
Right, yeah.
But in a team sport,
and if you talk about conditions, that's one thing, but you can't compare eras either. I mean, you know, I look like
that's the most
National Football League. Johnny Unitas doesn't have these massive numbers, but he's the guy that revolutionized the game of American football. The West Coast offense started with Johnny Unitas in the 1950s. You know, he was the guy that didn't get a chance. He was playing on a sandlot. He'd been cut by the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Colts side, and he took them to 2 World Championships and went to Super Bowl. He's the greatest quarterback in the NFL in my mind. But then you got Brady today, who has all these numbers, and Peyton Manning those numbers. But it's not the same. They played in different eras. You can't compare the eras.
You can't. Why do people love to do that?
They do.
And
I don't know why people like to compare a lot of things, you know?
I totally agree. Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Yes.
If you look at,
And I don't like
he
him.
wasn't the number one draft, and then you look at his whole, he worked for what he earned. That's why he earned the right to be called one of the greatest
Agreed.
ever. Okay. But so a guy in the 50s that like to say played on the field that was sand.
Exactly.
That ball gets wet and this and that. Lately, kickers do have a different ball they kick and whatever.
Well, back in that day, you never changed the ball. Now, after every play, they put a new ball in, they wipe it down.
Unbelievable.
You can't compare.
Yeah. And that's why I'm anti that. I'm just saying, if you contributed in your own mind that you made the game a little bit better than yesterday, you contributed. And that's the end of it.
Well, Naas, Botha, I have to say that you contributed to the game immensely. It's fantastic that you were Springbok and for the Bulls. Although I'm a Stormers and Province fan, I have to break your heart on that one. But I do follow the Bulls as well. But your contributions on the pitch, your contributions to the broadcast booth are just amazing, outstanding. I really look forward to your commentary every time that a game is on. It's really a special pleasure. So I want to thank you for the time you've offered today, and hopefully viewers enjoyed it. And we'll have to do this again, but of course it'll be Zoom because I'll be here and you'll be there, that sort of thing. But before you go, I bought this 2023 World Cup ball, and what I'd like is to get you to sign it, if you don't mind. Now, I'm meeting Joel Stransky tomorrow and then Victor Matfield the next day. So if I get you to sign in black on this, and then we'll turn it over and we'll do in gold in the other section there.
There you go.
Now let me give it a second to dry there.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Well, I want you to do gold on this one here. I can rotate the ball.
See.
Yeah, so I'm a clever one, I am.
Okay.
I got it, so it's not going to get your pants in. Okay.
There you go.
Isn't that clever, huh?
There you go. That's very clever. First time I actually seen something like that.
Well, I'm a big ice hockey fan. Thank you. Big ice hockey fan. We have a local team in Central Pennsylvania, the Hershey Bears, the Hershey Chocolate. They've been in teams since 1938, and they do a team photo session at one game every year where they hand out the photos. A photographer provides them, and then the fans come down on the ice after the game, and you get to go around it for like an hour.
Yeah.
But there's thousands of fans, and getting to everyone, you've got to have a strategy. Each time I've done it, I've gotten every player on the ice just because I'm fast and I pick their. You go to the short lines first, and then you taper off. You go to the big games afterwards. But what I do is I take multiple colors of permanent markers, and I have all of them sign the back side of the photo, and then it makes for very nice graphics. So I take two of the images, one of the team photo, and the back side of the photo with all the signatures on it. It's pretty cool. So
it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. I like that.
Anyway. Well, Naas, thank you very much. Bye, Duncan. It's been a real pleasure.
No, it was absolutely a pleasure talking to you. And let's just hope we leave one or 2 points that people maybe take a little bit more serious and say, okay, make this better game. Let's listen or let's talk or whatever. But I doubt that sometimes.
On that bright note, folks, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate it. This has been live, but also be edited later on and loaded up because we've got a couple different camera angles. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully, Naas and I will do this again remotely via Zoom, like the world seems to do these days down the road. Take care, folks. Maybe shut it off. Go Beans. All right. I think this